crunch twist is a great exercise for runners for two main reasons. And this comes down to the two different phases of the movement. So the first phase, when you're curling up, you're essentially using your abdominals, all those different stabilizer muscles, to slowly brace your core and lift your shoulders off, or kind of curl your shoulders forwards. The second half of that movement, when you're actually lifting yourself the remainder of the way up, you're using a lot of hip flexors. The other thing that's great with the crunch twist is when we're adding that twist in, we're essentially using more hip flexors on one side than the other and more core on one side than the other, which is exactly what happens when we're running. So when we run, obviously one leg is forward, one leg is backwards, and you're always doing a single leg at a time. And this is how your core has to act when you're running. So the crunch twist is a great way to work on your hip flexor strength and your core strength in a little bit more running specific way, because you're just working one side at a time. Let's take a look at how to set up for a crunch twist. Is really simple. All you need is a mat and enough space on the floor that when you're stretched out at your full range of motion, you're not going to be bumping into anything or having to move around anything. To do a crunch twist, there's a couple of important things to keep in mind. So first off, you want to pay attention to the two different phases of this exercise. And then secondly, you want to make sure that you're not holding onto your head. With this exercise, if you hold onto your head and you do that crunching motion while holding on, you put a ton of force through your neck and it doesn't actually help you come up through the exercise. So what you want to do is you're going to set yourself up on your mat and you're going to lie yourself down and you're going to ground your feet firmly on the ground. You're going to lie yourself down, head on the ground, shoulders on the ground, low back on the ground, and your butt on the ground. So everything is nice and flat along here. Then you're going to get your hands into position. Hands are going to go to the side of your head. You're not going to hold on. I like to either just kind of hover them next to my ears, or you can even just touch lightly on the side of your head. But again, like I said, you don't want to be lifting with those hands. So to break this into the two different parts of the movement, the first part of the movement is, you can kind of see here my chest is extended and everything through my core here is relaxed. So I'm in this position here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to contract everything through here and everything through my core as well. And I'm essentially lifting to this position. So you can see here, my stomach has tightened up. I don't have that extended chest anymore, but I'm still looking straight up at the ceiling. I want to make sure that I'm not crunching with my neck this way. Most of the time through this exercise, I'm just looking straight up at the ceiling. So the first half of this movement is just getting into that position from here to here. The second half of it, depending on how long your legs are, you might be able to keep your legs closer up this way. If you've got a long upper body, you might need to extend them out a little bit. And whatever's going to be comfortable for you, whatever gives you enough leverage to get up, is what you're going to want to do. So from this position here, you're going to lift yourself in that first piece there, and then I'm going to come the rest of the way up while twisting to one side. So it's a little bit more complex than just a standard crunch. And I'm coming from here, and then I'm coming the rest of the way up and coming across my body. And you'll see here, I'm not crunched with my head, I'm not leaning really hard. My hands are lightly here, and I'm just twisting. And I'm not twisting with my head, I'm twisting with my shoulders. So my shoulders are opening to that one side, and then I come back down to the center, and now I'm going the other direction. And so I'm coming up in that first piece, then I'm coming up and across, looking with my shoulders, and then back to the middle and back down. So that twist doesn't happen right when you get to the top. The twist is happening all the way through your movement as you come up. So it's one fluid movement, and this one takes a little bit of practice to get used to. But once you've done a bit of practice, practice that first phase, that second phase with the twist, then you can string them all together really nicely and you'll be really comfortable with this exercise. To increase the difficulty of your crunch twist, what you're gonna do is you're gonna add a little bit of extra weight to your chest. So you're not gonna be able to put your hands right up to your neck to do that twist. Instead, that weight is gonna go just on your chest here, and you'll go through that exact same range of motion. If your low back or your neck bug you when you're doing this exercise, you can substitute in a hanging leg raise with a twist instead. So you're not working on the first phase where you're doing that crunch, you're just working on the hip flexor side of things. But by doing a hanging leg raise with a twist, you're gonna be pulling that opposite leg across and still getting that rotational hip flexor activation. As an alternative to the crunch twist, you can work on something like a Russian twist, anything that has a rotation element to it. So for a Russian twist, you're gonna sit on your butt You're gonna balance here and you're twisting your upper body side to side. So you're still getting that range of motion as you twist. However, your hip flexors are a little bit more isometric. They're holding in place rather than going through that full range like when you're doing the full crunch twist.